What's up, guys? Coach Vassar. Thank you for joining me with OTF Auto Daily Beats. As always, if you're new, appreciate you tuning in, listening to me talk about these workouts. Thank you for joining me with this. If you have any feedback, please let me know. You could shoot me a message on GroupMe. You could leave a comment on the video. Other than that, we're going to break down our Thursday, April 17th workout. This will also repeat on Monday, April 28th. We're going to see power on the treads, power on the rower, strength on the weight floor. We'll break down the 2G, break down the 3G. Key concepts today, we're gonna see 3 tread blocks. Each block starts with a 90-second buy-in, followed by all outs that get shorter and faster. Finish each block with your strongest effort. On the rower, each of your 3 floor blocks start with a 90-second row for distance. Can you go the same distance or further each time? On the floor, get ready to fire up those adductors, AKA your inner thighs. You'll target these legs with the sumo squats, sumo deadlifts, and wide stance bridges while building lower body strength and stability. Just dumbbells are needed for today, but if you want to leave benches out as options, highly recommend it. So looking at the tread side, we'll see 3 blocks. Set up the same way, 6.5 minutes each with a 90-second recovery between each block. Block 1, the buy-in is the most unique. We are going to see a 90-second build. We'll start with a 30-second base into a base push and then a 30-second push. From there, they'll go into a 1-minute all out. After that, walk recoveries will start at 30 seconds, but then they increase as the all outs decrease, okay? As far as forecasting this, you could start with a 90-second build into a 1-minute all out. We'll start at base for the next 30 in 3, 2, 1, 30-second base. No need to necessarily give them the parameters because especially if it's the first group on the treads, you gave them the parameters during the warm-up. Okay. Now, with a build like this, as always, that I talk about it and the way I coach it, I like to think about adding on a certain amount and just keep doing that. So if they power walk, add somewhere between 1 to 3% every time. Joggers and runners, add 0.1 to 0.5 or more every time. Bikes and striders, they could add and alternate between 1 to 2 gears on every increase. Okay. By the end of that 30-second push, they should be feeling pretty good and ready to tackle their first all out. The intention is get more aggressive. So start, I don't want to say necessarily bare minimum, but definitely make it their best attempt of a 1-minute all out. So 10% or greater, 2 or more over their base speed, 6 gears or higher over their base gear, RPM stay over 60. Very uncomfortable, tapping into that high orange, 3, 2, 1, 1-minute all out. There's only 30 seconds to recover, and then they go right into a 45-second all out. With that very short recovery and the fact that they just worked for 2.5 minutes, maintaining the all out for this first one is a good goal for people to hit. After 45 seconds, they'll get 45 seconds of a walk. Then they do 30 seconds, 1-minute walk, and then another 30-second all out. And then that's the end of the block. So on the first 2 all outs, try to maintain. And then when it goes to 30 seconds, try to add 0.1 or more. And then for the last one, let's see what we could do as our best one for the block. Block number 2 and 3, all outs follow the exact same pattern, okay? If people want to reference what they did in block 1 and build off of that, great. Or you could also kind of cue it as, hey, this is a new block, brand new attempt. Let's see what we do as your best all out for this block. The buy-in does change. We'll see a 45 base into a 45 push. So a bigger jump up. So maintain their base and then maybe use what they did for their 30-second push in block 1 for just 15 seconds longer before they tackle into that first all out of the block. Block 3, 90 base, 1-minute all out. That's simple. And then boom, boom, boom. Okay, so in total, we're gonna see 12 all outs. 3 of them are a minute, 3 of them are 45 seconds, 6 of them are 30 seconds. We should see lots of peaks and valleys on the back half of every block. We want to make sure the heart rate does come down. So definitely coach to that. Coaching to the OTB is a great way to kind of get that buy-in from the technology, but also have people recognize when it's time to work, when it's time to recover, maximize that recovery. We want to see that heart rate start to trend downward before that next all out. All right, now when we look at the rower and the weight floor, the goal here is to match or beat the row distance each block. They want you to coach these rows as a power-based row. So even though it's a 90-second row for distance, which generally kind of interprets as endurance, treat this almost like the 500-meter row benchmark, where maybe we start at a push effort, and then the final 15 to 30 seconds, it's an all-out effort. And then they rack their handle and rest, okay? So a good setup for this one is at the beginning of their row, stroke rate may be lower, like 26 to 28, but then about that minute mark, or maybe minute 15, 28 plus, and more leg drive. So we don't want them to gas out near the end. We want them to try to work all the way through, and then when they hit the 30 seconds, rack up and I'm done, okay? So if they start petering out and they still have 15 seconds left, they probably started too hot out of the gate. So on blocks 2 and 3, let's see if we could fix that. So during the builds and during the longer all-outs, maybe have that conversation with those members. During the 1-minute walk recoveries, good heads up of if you saw people in the weight floor that were struggling with that row, have that quick conversation during that 1-minute walk and get them set up for success when they go into the next block. Now, the weight floor stuff, we will only have about 4-ish minutes to do 2 exercises because, obviously the 90-second row takes a minute and a half. It's going to take people about 30 to 40 seconds or so to get over to the weight floor. That's already 2 minutes into their block. So there's only about 4 minutes to actually do the work and rest stuff. Block 1, we're going to see sumo goblet squats. So this is obviously going to challenge midline and also, as I mentioned, the adductors, so the inner thighs. But that midline is mostly coming from the dumbbells, pulling them forward. So keeping that core tight, hips low, chest up, so more of an upright torso so they don't hinge forward into this movement. And that's gonna be paired up with dumbbell low rows. Between the sumo goblet squat and the low row, there might be a lot of lower back fatigue. So if people have any lower back issues, they could go onto the strap and do low rows from there. As a strength day, of course, you do have rep ranges, so 6 to 10. I like to have people start with a more moderate weight choice, get about 8 to 10 reps, and then on repeat rounds, either slow it down to elicit more fatigue, or if they are comfortable with it, go in heavier and get 6 or 7 reps. Block 2, 90-second row, and now we're gonna see the tall kneel-in Arnold press. So use a kneel pad, comfort for the knees. They'll start with both knees on the ground. From the knee, the hip to the shoulders, imagine that is a plank. So glutes are tight, belly button drawn in, minimize any curve through that lower back, like over excessive curve. So crunch in, start with the dumbbells right below the chin, and then with that low position here, that's gonna increase range of motion as they reach all the way up, and then bring it all the way back down, okay? A great option for this one is if people feel like they're leaning back or they're sitting back, do a split stance with the knee on the ground, so have one foot in front. And then do one round with one leg, one round with the other leg. The other thing you could have them do is from that kneel-in position, they could just keep the knuckles in this way and just do an uppercut. That's gonna be peeled up with the wide stance bridge. And this is a movement where you want people to be very mindful of where they face and which direction they face and who's around them and maybe what they're wearing. Try not to get too awkward about it, but know your members, and if anyone is wearing very short shorts, make sure that they are positioned in a way so that way they're facing away. Sorry about that. My little guy is fighting his nap right now, so that's what you heard screaming. He still is fighting the nap. But anyways, wide stance bridge. This is a movement where if people have really tight adductors, they're gonna feel their knees kind of get pulled in. So they actually have to do a lot more lateral glute recruitment, or the abductors, the abductors have to kind of fire off to drive the knees out some more for this. It is with the dumbbell in the crease of the hip, so just be aware of that. If that movement is pretty tough, have them go body weight first rather than doing a regular stance bridge, okay? But of course, that is another alternative. Bring the feet narrow, but now you eliminate the intention of using the adductors for stabilization. All right, the final block, 90-second row, just like before. Hopefully the best distance they've collected, hopefully also approach that all-out effort feeling by the end. And then we're gonna see sumo deadlifts paired up with the seated torso rotation. For the sumo deadlift, just like with the wide stance bridge, stance is outside the shoulders, toes and knees are pointed out. We want hips to pull back as that weight goes right between the feet, and then comes back up. You could have, if people are not comfortable doing that sumo deadlift, you could have them do like a sumo stance good morning, so they still get that hip hinge motion, but with a lighter weight, and that way they get that upper back engagement and they don't feel it in the lower back, but they feel more hamstrings, glutes, and outside of the hips. That's gonna be paired up with the floor seated torso rotation. Nothing fancy there, but that's also the finisher. When we look at the 3G, we're gonna see 2 blocks, and it is gonna be block 1 and block 2 from the 2G. So the 90-second build buy-in, 30 base, 30 base push, 30 push, and then 1 minute, 45, 30, 30, all outs. Block 2 is the 90 build with the 45 base, 45 push, and then all outs, okay? For the rower, we're gonna see 2 blocks that are set up the same way with a 90-second buy-in row, just like before. Set their distance, how far can they get, and then they will do a circuit until they call time. For the first circuit, it is going to be squat to alternating hip extension. So they'll squat down, stand up, and then heel drives back as they squeeze the glute to bring that leg behind them. This is a movement where people tend to overextend through the lower back, so keep the core tight as the foot moves behind them. The next rep is the other side. It's only 6 total, so 3 per side, but then they're gonna do a 150-meter all-out row, and the goal here is to check and remember the time and match or beat their all-out row time every attempt. Most likely they'll only get 2 attempts, because after that all-out row they should need a rest, and then they probably only have about 2 more minutes or so before they go again. Block 2, same thing. Start off with a 90-second push all-out row. Check their distance. Did they match or beat what they did in block 1? But then we do the circuit again, but now it's squat with the alternating floor tap. So as they squat down, one hand goes down, they come back up, squat, other side. This is gonna force them to have a deeper range of motion on that squat, as long as they lower their hips to touch the floor rather than lean over to touch the floor. And now the all out is for a 100-meter row as opposed to 150. Shorter effort, hopefully higher intensity. When we look at the weight floor, it is all 3 pairs of exercises from the 2G, but we're gonna do them 2 rounds at a time. So goblet sumo squat paired up with the low row, rest after each movement, 2 rounds. Then white stance bridge, Arnold press, 2 rounds, sumo deadlift, torso rotation, 2 rounds. And then that is same finisher with the torso rotation. 14 minutes and 30 seconds for this block here. And that is it. Nice and simple. Once again, do not be mistaken by the header of the rower being power focused, because when you see 90 seconds, it's more of like an endurance row, but we want them to be more power focused, like the 500-meter benchmark. So start with that push, finish with that all-out feeling. Thank you guys for listening to me talk about these workouts as always. Any feedback, any comments, any suggestions, let me know what's on your mind. If you find value, of course, support me in the information in the description. Otherwise, coach it down.